Hey everyone, welcome back to Simming History, where we look at the history of architecture through the lens of The Sims. Before we get started today, if you like the video, please take a moment to hit like and subscribe. Today we're diving back into vernacular architecture, and we're going to look at the polar engineering perfection that is the igloo. Let's get started. Igloos probably originated from what is today the central Canadian Arctic region in Greenland, but eventually it spread pretty much throughout the Arctic and the North America Arctic indigenous peoples. Because it is truly the perfect winter shelter for their environment. In that way, it's one of the best examples of vernacular architecture. Igloos are built by stacking cut ice blocks in a spiral that slowly turns in on itself, creating a dome. And at the top, it's finished with a custom-cut keystone. Keystones are featured in arches and domes in cultures from around the world. It's what holds round structures together. It's a universal invention. The outer surface of the igloo was then packed with snow, filling in the cracks to further insulate it from the wind. Additionally, air shafts were cut into the dome to ensure the occupants had oxygen, and a stovepipe, if needed, to ensure the occupants had oxygen. In the inner living chamber, there's a sleeping platform that's raised up above the rest and insulated with a layer of sticks, bones, paddles, just kind of whatever they had access to. Access to the igloo is provided by a tunnel that first takes you down below the floor level and then back up into the igloo. This tunnel is why the igloo works. It's the center of everything. The first question everyone has is the igloo warm? And the answer is yes. That's then always followed by how? And the answer is thermodynamics. Cold air is more dense than hot air, which is how we get the saying that hot air rises and cold air sinks. And the igloo's tunnel, it creates what's literally called a cold sink. Because it's lower than the floor of the igloo, a pocket of cold air sinks down into the tunnel and locks the warmer air in the living area above it. This warmer air is created by the lamps, the stove, and of course the body heat of all of the occupants. And if you're wondering, how does that relative heat not melt the igloo? It does. The interior surface basically goes through a constant cycle of melt and immediate refreeze due to the extreme exterior temperature. This interior ice layer adds some structural strength, but really it's just more protection from the winds. And sometimes the indigenous peoples of the Arctic would hang sealed hides inside the igloo to provide an additional insulation pocket between the occupied space and the cold outer wall. So how warm does it get in an igloo? This one is surprising. Interior temperatures can reach 60 degrees Fahrenheit or 16 degrees Celsius, or even higher. It's well below freezing outside. How far below freezing? Well, it was 60 degrees Fahrenheit inside. It was negative 50 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 45 degrees Celsius outside. Let's just take a moment to appreciate that. A temperature difference of over 100 degrees Fahrenheit between inside the igloo and outside the igloo. The igloo is truly engineering perfection, and it was developed by people who had no written language, was an oral tradition group, and had no contact with the so-called Western world. And they figured out thermodynamics long before those laws were even written. We don't know how old the igloo is, but it's believed it was developed over thousands of years. And the first Western contact with the Inuit didn't occur until around the same time the second law of thermodynamics was being written. They knew how to live with their environment, something we really do need to relearn. Are igloos still in use today? Yes, most Inuit peoples live in Western-style houses today, but igloos are still used, if only or primarily for hunting trips. And if you've ever wanted to sleep in one, you are in some level of luck. There are northern resorts all over the world that have some, shall we say, icy accommodations, though most don't qualify as a true igloo. I know this week's video was kind of a short one, but igloos have always fascinated me, and I've always kind of wondered if I could build one in The Sims. So thanks for joining me today as we took a look at the igloo. Let me know in the comments, have you ever been in one, and would you be interested? I must admit, I kind of am. Next time we take another look at another vernacular architecture type. Until then, you can find me on Instagram at Simming History, and the Sims 4 gallery at Simming History will be the playable versions of this and many other builds. Thank you to all the new subs. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe. When we hit 1,000, I am planning on doing a live build, so subscribe and share. I'll see you all next time. Until then, bye!